Welcome to the Channel Surfers. This is a podcast that's going to help guide you through some of the ever-changing, evolving things that are happening in channel and sales and partnerships. I'm your host, Jeff Lennon. I'm joined today by my special friend and co-host, John McCabe. John, how are you?
I'm good, Jeff. How you doing?
I'm doing well. It's been a rough week with the storms and everything, lost power twice. So really looking forward to kind of jumping into this. So today we actually have a special guest. I met this gentleman at Catalyst, about 6 weeks ago back in Seattle. And this is going to be hopefully one of a series of podcasts that we're going to do and really focus around exploring the innovators and innovation that are reshaping the channel and the go-to-market and how they're leveraging AI and how that's impacting the business and channel sales. So with that, I'd like to introduce Toro. Toro, how are you?
I'm doing great. It's a pleasure to be on this podcast. I'm excited to talk about everything that's happening in AI go-to-market. I'm the CRO at a company called Personalize, and yeah, we're a startup, a small team, all Canadian, and that's a quick intro on me.
well, tell me a little. Well, first of all, kind of give the quick background. So it was, and then people kind of understand. So we, when we were at Catalyst, one of the breakouts, we did a roundtable discussion, and I'd mentioned that or talked about it when on an earlier podcast, and you were kind of sitting off to my left, and as we were kind of going through conversation, if you recall, you would kind of throw some things out there, and I kept turning and looking at you like, "What do you do?" So as we kind of dove into that a little bit, I was really intrigued by what your company does and how you approach it. So if you could take a couple minutes and just kind of give our audience a little background on what is Personalize AI, what is it doing with AI, and how are you looking to reshape and change, or enhance or improve, how people go to market and how they do their jobs today?
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so there's a lot of companies out there, a lot of AI agent companies, and a lot of these guys are promising the world. But what they're doing is building AI use cases for an entire ecosystem or an entire user base, for example. What we're doing is building AI agent use cases for very specific verticals that are on HubSpot. So we are definitely focusing on the HubSpot ecosystem, but at the end of the day, we are an API product. We can link into many different tech products, but high level, what we're doing is researching, reasoning, and writing. So we're researching contact records, those website URLs, LinkedIn URLs, email threads, call transcripts, whatever else a business is collecting within those contact records, generating a super long text summary. So that will be used as context to then pass on to a reasoner, where we work with our clients to come up with their best practices and train an agent to act like their head of sales, for example. So we're tagging records, we're segmenting, disqualifying, qualifying, putting them in specific sequences based off if they sell B2B or B2C, for example. And then we are writing, so texts, emails, and that's on the basic side, but we can also get more complex with things like statement of works or proposals, or we can even create essentially a custom section within websites. So as a customer comes to the website, the copy on that website will be personalized to that individual. And there's a bunch of use cases underneath that umbrella of researching, reasoning, and writing. But I'll just stop there for now.
Are you sending out like bulk emails for the clients, or they have to do that through like a HubSpot or some other like, push email service?
Yeah, so we don't send anything. All we're doing is generating that copy that will live as a custom field within the contact record that you then map to something like a sequence. And whichever contact you put within that sequence, it's going to grab that custom field that is that personalized written content that will be then sent through HubSpot. I love HubSpot, but their email sending is not ideal. Their deliverability and cost is not very effective. So I do suggest using stuff like Instantly, for example.
So I like that website customization. Is that how effective is that from like a lead gen standpoint? Like, it's like, I know there are services out there that will capture like who was on your site, where they're from, and then you can kind of go, prospect to them. How does that work with your service?
Yeah, so it would be more for contacts that have already received touch points that are already within the contact
Okay.
records. So it's more for your high touch clients, people that you just want to push over the line, do something that is unique and different and shows that you put a lot of effort. It's going to get better though. It's going to get to a point where everyone has some sort of like internet footprint, and then every website a person ever goes to, as this technology evolves, will have only personalized content. So no longer business is going to be coming up with essentially a website template. We're going to be coming up with personalized best practices when it comes to, we know XYZ about client, we should show them XYZ products on the landing page, which is what's happening in email right now. And that's what's going to be happening in websites as well as stuff progresses. But also, speaking about websites and visits, when people visit a website, they got that cookie, and we can partner with specific data providers that are essentially on a daily basis rescanning, researching 42 billion times on these individuals. And then what we can do is, as the person comes to the website, for example, let's say they're looking at a car wrapping company, then we can be like, okay, you came to the car wrapping company, you didn't do anything, but now we have your information. We know you've looked at X car wrapping company and Y car wrapping company. And now we can take that data plus whatever other data we have to then send you an email saying, hey, I know you looked at these other competitors. This is why we're better. Would love to like book a call, for example, which is something that can happen on autopilot that I think would be a very powerful use case.
Yeah. Is your tool set predominantly used by like marketing teams or sales, or what do you see the most, and even channel, we're talking channel, but like how do you channel marketing, where do you see the most activity from your users?
Yeah, definitely on the sales side of things. There's a lot of opportunity on the marketing stuff when it comes to content generation as well. We can scrape a competitor's whole marketing strategy, their whole playbook, come up with some unique positions to take that business will provide, and then essentially not copy, but copy the structure and input their own take. So that's on the marketing side of things. And that's more of like a custom project we work on. Definitely not super accessible at this point, just due to the people who do that type of stuff. They want 100% accuracy. They want to make sure this is going to be really good content. So we do need to have more of like a hands-on approach to that. But when it comes to sales, like there's so much when it comes to writing and AI writing and all this stuff. And that stuff is actually very easy to do at this point. But the quality of that is all determined by the initial data. And a lot of people have messy data. A lot of people might not have enough data. Some people are just collecting in a form, an email, and a name. And I think where I see forms going is definitely pushing people to give more information, because then what we can do is, once a form is submitted, we can run an AI agent to read all the information in that form and then come up with an email that says, hey, instead of saying thanks for completing the form, buy all our stuff, now we can say thanks for completing the form. We think this specific product of ours is valuable for XYZ reason based off the research we've done, which is just a better customer journey and what people are going to start to expect when it comes to a bunch of different companies implementing this stuff. And if you don't do it, then it's like, why are you not?
So I'm kind of curious. Well, I want to kind of go down two paths, but and they're going to lead to the same thing. But I'm kind of curious at like your personal journey. Like what led you to go down this path to be an AI kind of change maker? What was the genesis that drove you down this path? That's kind of the first part of the question. And the second part is, what was it that you saw that needed to be updated, change, revolutionize. I mean, you're talking about some really interesting pieces, and John's going down a good path. Like I saw from our conversation back 6 weeks ago, just initially, I'm like, yeah, I know you're doing sales, but boy, I kind of see this helping from a channel perspective. What you just described, there's some overlap there, but just kind of curious. I mean, what was the journey like? What got you to this point, and then what was the use case, so to speak, that you saw that needed to be updated or enhanced?
Yeah. It's a very long story, but I'm going to keep it short. So,
See, that's why we're friends.
Okay, so essentially, I had this business idea. I was actually a tree planter when I was very young. I left high school early to go tree planting, and then I ended up tree planting across the world. I planted trees in the UK and Australia. But when I was in Australia, there was a break in work, and then I had no work and I needed to find a job. So I did door-to-door sales for HelloFresh. And then that's when I started kind of understanding business and sales and all that stuff for the first time. And then I started like writing down all my business ideas. And then I saved my money, went back, did one more season. And then I had a good pot of cash and I wanted to create a business. And this business was to really add a lot more efficiencies in the local food ecosystem. So connecting farmers, producers, distributors, and making that whole process a lot more better, just because I had and still have a very large belief that localization is a way to like solve a bunch of issues when it comes to fixing stuff from a big picture perspective that will have like a large waterfall effect. And localization is also a big thing, but the best way to start, I think, is with food, where we bring people together. People are spending all their money on food, and that money will then stay in the mid to lower class rather than being funneled up to shareholders of massive corporations. So that was my whole thing, and it was a big business.
Cool. That's a pretty cool backstory. I mean, it's not the normal road, the path taken, so to speak, but that's really interesting.
Yeah, it was just like a very big test and like introduction to learning about tools, doing UX, UI design, just building out all those roadmaps. But I went to Vancouver Startup Week and I needed an implementation team. I needed those developers. And then I met this company named Ether Automation, and they were doing a lot of work in Zoho when it came to Deluge and creating automation within sales and marketing. But that was before AI. So none of that existed. We just had to create rule-based systems using Deluge. And I hired them to build out the FUB, is what it was called, the food hub. And it just got prolonged. But then I started building that relationship with them. And then I came on as a business development position working with their company and coming up with those automations. And then I got rich in crypto. I didn't work for like a while. I just like was very enthralled in the crypto space, and honestly there's just so much cool tech being built, and my whole job was just to like have a really good understanding of what was being developed and what is actually the best tech and where people's attention going to. And then after that,
we're gonna have to have him back, John, to have a whole crypto conversation now.
Yeah, I was like, that caught my attention.
I'm working on some AI partnership deals as well, but we won't get into that just yet. But then, just started to look for a job again. And then I came across Personalize just through my network. Met the guy. It was just appealing for me because he was local. He was in Vancouver. And then I started learning about Personalize and everything they do. And it's a very technical team. We're a small team of 7, and all of them are PhD levels, all
wow,
Canadian as well. But it's been 8 months, and there was a lot of work to be done in terms of just being like the sales and marketing guy and not coming from a non-engineer perspective and just building out this company, having these conversations. and yeah, I just like I watched a Y Combinator video the other day, and it was they had Elon Musk on the talk, and he was saying they asked him about his whole government experience, and he said now he's kicked out, like he's no longer doing government, and he's back to building his stuff with all his various companies. But what he was saying, it's like when it comes to creating efficiencies within government, it's like it's good work, but it's like you're picking up trash off the beach, and that's good and all. But what is the point in picking up trash off the beach if there's this big tsunami, which is AI, which is coming, that's going to like wipe everything out? So like AI is definitely just something that I think everyone should have some sort of like knowledge about and some sort of like
Yeah.
implement into their life. So I don't know. Yeah, go for it.
Let me ask you this, because Jeff and I were talking last week, and we saw the news like Microsoft's laying off, I think, 8,000 employees because the cost of Copilot is so great they need to cut corners somewhere. And I think AWS is talking about doing the same thing. Like, what do you think AI is going to do? Do you think AI is going to replace bodies at some point? Because it sounds like it and looks like it's starting to happen in some corners.
Yeah, when it comes to cost, I'll start there. A lot of the companies right now, everyone's trying different pricing models, and I think a lot of the pricing models are broken. I think it's a no-brainer. Why is everyone not just on usage-based pricing? Because there's the energy cost of running AI that should definitely be involved, but that's not that much compared to like what people are charging for this, because these people are essentially building proven cases with a system prompt. Let's just call it a system prompt that is the core prompt, and then they're adding a second layer, which is the user prompt. And the system prompt is that company's IP. It's a beautiful prompt, but it leads to lack of customizability, and they also upcharge for that initial system prompt. So one thing we're doing at Personalize is just removing those barriers, and it adds a lot more friction on the onboarding process, but it allows someone to build that asset, which is that system prompt, where we can like force these models to be specialized in their specific business use cases or industry verticals.
Okay, but do you see AI replacing people? That's a great story, but didn't answer my question. Like, are we looking at a couple of years down the road? What's that?
I said he danced. He said a lot, but she kind of said
he didn't answer that question. We're cutting edge here at the Channel Surfers.
Short answer, most definitely. Like people like my mom, she works at Deloitte. She's like a high up manager in Deloitte, and they are constantly talking about AI automations, and people are getting laid off. Luckily, if you work at Deloitte and you get laid off by AI, you get a killer severance package. And
that lasts how long though? You need job benefits.
Exactly. But there is going to be like major upskilling needed of individuals. But luckily, like AI is very accessible. Like my girlfriend, who has no technological background, she's using it not to like do her work, but like prep her and like form her thoughts around how to go about her work in the most efficient route. Like if she has an exam and it's late, then she can go to ChatGPT and say, hey, this is my situation. These are the goals. Like provide me a roadmap so I can do this in the most efficient like way possible to achieve that. Yeah. Which is, so I was talking to my girlfriend about this actually last night. Like now, like our grandparents and my generation, it's like we're just like so much better at using a phone, and we're like, grandma, like why are you like clicking that and that? And it's like they just have like their own way of how to use it. And we have our own way to use it, which is obviously a lot more efficient. But what I see like my kids or my grandkids being better at than me is using AI to essentially achieve multiple tasks at the same time and really have an understanding of how to make these models work a lot better than I would, because I can be like achieving 5 to 10 tasks using AI right now, giving it some prompts, giving it some stuff. But I really see like the next generation being able to ask the right questions and utilize this technology to achieve 1000x what I'm achieving using it, just because they're better at using it.
Yeah. I mean, Jeff and I use ChatGPT or some form of a AI bot to do our everyday jobs, right? So I get that. I think the scariest part is, the elimination of jobs. I see the channel, and part of the reason why we're doing this series on AI is because we see the technology that's being utilized for sales and channel, advancing so greatly that it could put people out of jobs, right? And that's concerning, but it's also intriguing because of the capabilities that the technology offers,
Yeah, it's just going to turn into who can ask better questions. That's what it really all comes down to. And yeah, it's just going to allow humans to be able to focus more on creative work, in my opinion, other than doing mundane tasks that should be automated with AI. And no one knows the right answer. People are definitely going to get laid off. There's going to be some sort of like rough period where governments and like companies are going to have to find a way to find stuff to do for all these people that no longer have a purpose due to AI taking their job. But I am going to be optimistic and see there is a path to just people focusing on more creative work, spending less hours doing stuff that shouldn't be done by humans that are leading to like depression and stuff.
Yes, sorry, I mean to cut you out. A lot of mundane stuff. No, I agree. And it's interesting. Like John said, we were just talking about this in a previous podcast, and it's one of the things that's interesting, and you kind of started to talk about it, which is, asking better questions. And what I find interesting is it comes down to the logic model that they're using, and then the data that they're able to source to help you give you that answer. Right. So it's, I always tell people, you make the best decisions based on the information that you have. Well, depending on which one you're using, whether it's Grok, whether it's Gemini, whether it's Chat, I just saw yesterday, looks like Apple might be buying Perplexity, and I was like, damn, it's not a bad thing, but it just, every time something gets bought, it changes. But I guess my point is, and you're actually doing some really interesting stuff. I mean, you're light years ahead. I'll give you my quick 2 cents, and then I have a question. So my 2 cents is, we've gone through these iterations, over and over, right? I mean, it's the Industrial Revolution. You had the IT stuff, oh my God, like they were taking people out of steel mills back in, the late 80s and early 90s, and hey, go learn how to, work on computers. Some people did, some people didn't, but there was a shift. And this is another, I'll call it a tectonic shift that's happening in business. But to your point, up learning or upscaling yourself to understand AI, what you can do with it and how it can impact the business. You still need some people to do things, but it's going to change. I do agree. What do you see as, and the fact that you're doing other AI stuff, and you don't have to get into the specifics, but what is your future vision for AI and this business that you're doing? I mean, what do you see happening within the business that you're working on over the next 3 to 5 years, for example? And what does that impact look like? Obvious, it's going to consolidate and things, but where do you see kind of the nuances? And there's no wrong answer. I'm just kind of curious because you're much deeper into this than myself or John. So,
yeah, I think the future I'm working on with Personalize is just creating better customer journeys. So, I think everything should be personalized. Now that we do have this technology, there is some concerns when it comes to the B2B market and the B2C market, just due to the B2C market not having a large internet footprint, and a lot of customers maybe not wanting to provide that data and have that large internet footprint. But I just see as generations progress, like everyone's just going to have a very large internet footprint and have a lot of data associated with their cookie, for example, that we can then use to just like provide that personalized customer journey, not send stuff that's saying, that looks like spam that's saying, hey, buy all our stuff, we can say, we know you have this very specific problem. This is why we're reaching out to you. And here's like a very specific solution to your problem. And which is just what I expect from advertising moving forward. And that's the future I'm trying to like build with Personalize.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But obviously there's so much other more important stuff in AI than sales and marketing, but this is the industry I'm focusing on.
Well, it's going to drive it. I mean, I totally agree. I mean, there's, I was listening to, I'm going to mess his name up. I think his name is, oh my God, Gary Brecka. And really interesting guy. I started listening to him because it's just about the whole physiology and stuff. But anyway, he was on a interview podcast or whatever. And, there's all this data, right? Think about it, AI and all, there's all this data. Okay. So his thing was pretty funny. He's like, why aren't we curing cancer? Why aren't we curing these diseases? If we have all this stuff and now we can do 1,000,000 times computations faster, why are we leaning in? And I forget the person he was talking with, but it was, it was just interesting. But to your point, yeah, we're using it for sales, we're driving business. But I think there's going to be, such an impact across other industries, and we just haven't seen it yet. Sadly, I think people are looking for how do they make money at it? How do they take it and monetize it? Right. I think that's, I hate to say the sad part, but it will also make it more ubiquitous and more mainstream. And then you'll see more people using it. But I do think companies are using it. I just haven't heard it. It kind of popped in my head. I was like, wow, that's really interesting. Like, somebody asked a question, but yet and if you go ask them, by the way, they will tell you to consult your doctor. And I'm like, what? Like, okay. So anyway, I'll get off my soapbox. But so let's kind of bring it back because I want to make sure we touch on this. So let's talk about personalized first. So what would you say are the top 3 things that you could offer from a use case perspective? I'm kind of giving an opportunity to kind of plug the product a little bit, but what are the top 3 things that you do? What is the use case that you guys help solve? I know you guys are tied to HubSpot, which, by the way, I think that's a smart move. Don't go too horizontal with too many, companies or integrations. Get that one, perfect it, be the best at it, and then the other stuff will come. But what would you say are the top 3, attributes or values that you guys offer today?
For sure. I'll start off with just saying we are building for the HubSpot ecosystem. A big value prop for our customers is if you're on HubSpot, you've built all your workflow sequences, you've trained your team on HubSpot. Your only solutions for AI agents currently is to use HubSpot Breeze, which is a great product, but there's some limitations when it comes to scale and cost effectiveness. Or you have to train your team on a separate software. So we want to be that invisible layer within a person's or business's existing best practices, where we take, for example, that form submission workflow use case where this is one form is submitted, research form, provide personalized response matching your specific value prop that matches their specific pain point. Rather than saying buy all these products, we say buy this specific product for XYZ reason. Other use case that is very practical that I use for my own sales team is having playbooks or just a few personalized notes within the contact record where if they're doing cold calling or any sort of outbound, they can skip that initial manual research phase and have more confidence on that call and just have more tools to convert that into something of value. And then another thing is just, like a lot of these more legacy companies, anyone making like 10 million ARR has been in business for 10 plus years. Like they're spending money on ads, they're getting a ton of leads inside their CRM, but they're not even touching the 5-10 years back leads. But what we can do is run an agent workflow that will research all those contacts, come up with what they're up to these days, and then run a qualification agent, see who's actually still qualified to be a customer, and then we can run a personalized email buyback campaign to those individuals. And I have partnerships as well that do texts and all these other things as well. Really good. And yeah, I'll stick with those use cases, but it's
Definitely.
really,
That was the, I mean, actually, I just want to jump in because I want John to kind of jump on something here. John's a big playbook guy. I saw when you said playbook, he kind of like,
Oh,
I
yeah,
saw
I
him
was like,
smile. I saw him smile, like, because that's a big thing where
mhm.
it gives the framework for people to be successful, right? It's all about success is, that consistency, right? And having that process that you're being consistent and you're able to execute, and being able to execute on a broader scale across multiple people isn't always easy. Having a playbook like you just described, I think is really important,
Yeah.
I think the unique part about that is if it's in HubSpot, because HubSpot is where our sales reps go to, do everything: prospect, update, opportunities and contact records and things like that. But having it, and I know I worked at a company where we actually did calling out of HubSpot. You could actually cold call out of HubSpot. It recorded the message, and so that's really powerful, having the playbook within that module to utilize. But like Jeff said, playbooks are important because it's a guide for someone who's trying to stick to the process and get success. Playbooks help you do that. And I think playbooks can be used in so many different ways. PRMs are really big on utilizing playbooks, right? And I'm a big PRM guy. But the product you guys are selling is unique. I actually signed up for an account after we spoke last week. I'm going to try and utilize it myself. So
yeah, that's interesting. A big thing that we're improving on our product is that variable creation. What you'll probably see next week or the week after is a system where you can just put your website URL, your LinkedIn URL, and then we're going to run an AI agent workflow to pre-draft these variables for you. And what variables are that like system prompt I was talking about. So, for example, if we're writing an AI email, we need an example of what a good email is, and that's going to be our email example variable. And then we're going to need a pitch variable. So what does your company do? What value props do you have? What is the tone you have in these emails? How long, short, blah, blah, blah. And then maybe an avoid list variable. And then there's other variables we can add, but it's also going to take context from the research agent prior. And then we're going to run it for 1 to 2 records. And then we're going to look at the output. If we like it, then we're going to do it for 10 records. And then we see, there's like an error in contact 8 and 9. Then we need to see what went wrong and then go back into those variables and adjust it. Say, hey, don't ever mention these words. Make this message shorter. Maybe don't personalize this part of the email, but personalize this part of the email. And then we go through that iteration process until we have those variables that are then in turn assets for your business, because they are things that will allow you to use AI and force it to do what your best practices are. So that is something we're working on. Like I said, we're a startup. We got lots of things to learn, especially with our marketing. We just hired a CMO through a government grant, and we're just like onboarding him this past like week, 2 weeks. And we're going to get better, but that's awesome.
That's a dream job for a CMO. I mean, your product's built for the marketing teams. I really believe in sales. So,
we
lost them.
Whoop, are you still there? Oh, did we lose him?
I think there he is.
I'm back.
Okay. Wow, man. I was like, well, there you go. That's what we call a quick exit. So I do have
we're bumping up against time. So, Latoro, it was great having you on. It was very interesting what you're talking about and what your company does. Why don't you tell the audience where they can find you and a little bit about, your website and things like that, how they can reach out to you?
Yep. Our website is personalize.ai, so PERSONIZE. And then you can find my LinkedIn at Latoro Cepeda. And that's pretty much it. We're going to be doing live events every week, going over a specific use case. Would love for people to join that, as well as just challenge us. We're trying to pivot. Right now, we can pivot because we are a startup. So we want all that feedback now. we're raising money. If anyone's like connected with
Any investors out there, get in touch with Latoro to invest now.
Absolutely, yes. Man.
That's pretty much it. I'll leave it at that.
No, that's great. Well, look, first of all, again, thank you so much, man. It was great meeting you. I'm glad you had the opportunity to come on and talk with John and I. There's definitely some additional questions, that I'd love to dig into at some point. I think you have a really innovative product. Like I said, you really caught my attention at that roundtable. So with that, anybody that's listening, you can actually find us on Apple Podcasts, Podcastle. We also are on YouTube, and you can catch us up on LinkedIn. If you have any questions, feel free to DM us on LinkedIn. And then you can also get our emails from our LinkedIn site as well. And again, Latoro, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Yep. And good luck. Great opportunity there.
We'll circle back with you in about 6 months and see how things are going. Maybe even have a little bit deeper conversation around crypto.
I'm looking forward to it. Thanks so much, guys.
Thank you, man. Take care.